My sister faked a pregnancy to scam money, but I exposed her at the baby shower. My sister, Vanessa, had always been a liar. Not the small, harmless kind of liar, the kind who exaggerates stories to make them more interesting, the kind who twists the truth just enough to make themselves look better. No, Vanessa was the kind of liar who could look you dead in the eyes while stabbing you in the back and convince you she was doing you a favor. I had grown up watching her manipulate everyone around her, our parents, friends, boyfriends, even complete strangers. She had a talent for spinning elaborate sob stories that turned her into the victim of every situation, and every single time someone fell for it. So when she announced she was pregnant, I wanted to believe her. I really did. But something about the whole thing felt off. At first, it was just little things. The timeline didn't make sense. She claimed she was 3 months along when she announced it, but 2 months before that, she had been bragging about how she and her boyfriend Jason weren't even sleeping together. Then there was the way she avoided details. Most expectant mothers love to talk about their symptoms, the morning sickness, the weird cravings, the little milestones. But Vanessa? She kept things vague. She'd mention how tired she was or how she was struggling to eat, but every time someone asked for specifics, she'd change the subject. And the biggest red flag? She never went to a single doctor's appointment. Every time someone asked, she had an excuse. The clinic lost my records. I'm trying a holistic approach to pregnancy. Too many chemicals in hospitals. The doctor said everything looks fine, no need for an ultrasound yet. It was bullshit. All of it. And I knew it. But no one else seemed to. Vanessa played the role perfectly. She posted pictures of baby bump progress, but only in baggy sweatshirts and loose dresses. She started sharing articles about single motherhood, subtly painting herself as the strong, independent woman who had been abandoned by Jason after she told him the news. And of course, she started collecting money. First, it was just little things. A few extra bucks from our parents to help her prepare, a GoFundMe set up by her best friend to help her with unexpected costs. Then the real scam began. She started dropping hints about financial struggles, how expensive medical bills were, how hard it was to afford baby supplies, how she just wished she could have a proper nursery. And right on cue, our mother swooped in, insisting that Vanessa have a baby shower. A big one, Mom said, her eyes gleaming as if this were the most exciting thing to ever happen to her. We'll invite everyone, family, friends, co-workers. We have to make sure the baby gets everything it needs. And Vanessa? She acted shy, grateful, as if this wasn't exactly what she wanted all along. That's when I knew. She had no intention of stopping. She was going to ride this lie all the way to the finish line, unless someone stopped her. Unless I stopped her. The moment I decided to expose her, I knew I had to do it right. There was no point in confronting her privately. She would lie, twist my words, make herself the victim like she always did. No. If I was going to end this, I had to do it in a way that no one, not even Vanessa, could talk her way out of. So I started gathering evidence. The first breakthrough came when I found her stash. I had been at her apartment pretending to be the supportive sibling when I excused myself to the bathroom. On the way back, I saw a plastic shopping bag sticking out from under her bed. Curiosity got the best of me. I peeked inside, and there it was, a fake pregnancy belly. I yanked the bag out and dumped the contents onto the floor. Pads to make her hips look wider. Foam inserts to adjust the shape of the belly as it grew. Even adhesive strips to make it stick to her skin. She had planned this down to the smallest detail. But that wasn't the worst of it. The real smoking gun came a few days later when I followed her. She had told Mom she was going to a prenatal appointment. So I tailed her. And guess where she went? Not a clinic. Not a hospital. Not even a holistic healer. She went to a day spa. A freaking spa. I watched from my car as she waltzed in, dressed in leggings and an oversized hoodie, her baby bump suddenly looking much smaller than usual. And that was it. That was the moment I knew exactly how I was going to expose her. At the baby shower. In front of everyone. The day of the event, Vanessa was glowing. Not in the way pregnant women glow. No, she was glowing from victory. From the sheer pleasure of knowing she had conned everyone in that room. The living room was packed with gifts, cribs, strollers, designer baby clothes, stacks of cash-filled envelopes. She sat in the center, cradling her fake belly, milking the attention for everything it was worth. "Oh my, Vanessa, you look amazing," a family friend gushed. Vanessa placed a hand on her belly, perfectly rehearsed. "It's been tough, but it's all worth it for this little miracle." I nearly gagged. It was time. I stood up, clearing my throat. "Vanessa," I said sweetly, "I think it's time for the big moment." She blinked, feigning innocence. "What moment?" "The belly cast," I said. "You know, the one where we make a mold of your bump so you can keep it forever." Her face went white. Around the room, people perked up, excited. "That's a great idea," someone chimed in. "Oh, that would be beautiful," another guest gushed. Vanessa laughed nervously. "Oh, I don't think—" "Oh, come on," I said, my voice syrupy sweet. "It's a once-in-a-lifetime memory. Let's do it now." I pulled out the supplies, a plaster kit I had bought just for this moment, and set them on the table. And then I reached out and ripped her fake belly straight off. The room erupted. Gasps, shouts, stunned silence as Vanessa's flat stomach was exposed for everyone to see. She shrieked, scrambling to cover herself, but it was too late. The damage was done. Mom's face twisted in horror. Guests backed away, murmuring in shock. And then Jason, her baby daddy, the man she had lied about abandoning her, stood up from the crowd and threw his drink in her face. "You lying, manipulative psycho," he spat. "You made me look like a deadbeat for sympathy, for money?" Vanessa stammered, her eyes darting around, looking for an escape, an excuse, a way out. But there was none. Not this time. I smiled, because she had built this entire scam for attention. And now? She was getting exactly what she wanted, just not the way she expected. The silence after I ripped off Vanessa's fake belly was deafening. It was the kind of silence that hangs heavy in the air, thick with shock, disbelief, and the slow, dawning realization that everything you thought was true had just been shattered. And then the chaos began. "Oh my goodness!" Someone whispered it, barely audible, but it was enough. Enough to snap everyone out of their stunned paralysis. Enough to turn that shocked silence into an explosion of voices. People gasped. Some stumbled backward, as if Vanessa's deception was a physical force pushing them away. Others turned to each other, whispering furiously. And in the center of it all, Vanessa stood frozen, her eyes darting wildly from face to face, her hands clutching at the air as if trying to grab onto an excuse that didn't exist. Mom was the first to speak. "Vanessa," she choked out, her face pale. "What is—" She gestured at Vanessa's now very flat stomach, her voice strangled. "What is this?" Vanessa's mouth opened, then closed, then opened again. But no words came out, because there was nothing she could say. I had cornered her completely. No lies, no manipulation, no twisting the story in her favor. Just cold, undeniable truth, laid out for everyone to see, and she wasn't prepared for it. Jason, the supposed deadbeat dad she had thrown under the bus for sympathy, was the first to snap. "You lying, manipulative psycho," he spat, stepping forward. His hands were clenched into fists, his entire body trembling with rage. "You told everyone I abandoned you, that I left you pregnant and alone. You had my own family calling me a piece of shit for months, and this whole time, you weren't even pregnant?" Vanessa flinched, her face twisting into something desperate, something panicked. I can explain," she stammered. "Jason, please, I was going to tell you—" He let out a sharp, bitter laugh. "When? Before or after you scammed everyone in this room?" Vanessa's eyes flickered toward Mom and Dad, her last hope of salvation. But they weren't rushing to defend her. Mom just stared at her, her expression a mix of horror and fury. Dad's face was hard, unreadable. His jaw clenched so tightly I thought he might break a tooth. They had no idea what to do, because they had never seen Vanessa fail before. They had never watched her lose control of a situation this completely. And the realization hit me like a lightning bolt. This was the first time they were seeing her for who she truly was. The guests were turning now, the murmurs growing louder, sharper, filled with anger, betrayal, disgust. A woman near the front, Mom's friend Linda, crossed her arms, shaking her head. "So all those donations? The GoFundMe? The money we all sent you for baby supplies? Was a scam," I finished for her. Vanessa whipped her head toward me, her expression vicious, but she still didn't deny it. Because she couldn't. not with the evidence staring everyone in the face. Her hands shook, and for a moment, just a moment, I saw something flicker in her eyes, something close to real fear. Because she knew. This wasn't just a family embarrassment, this was fraud, and it was all unraveling fast. Vanessa's breathing turned shallow, her chest rising and falling rapidly. She looked like a trapped animal, her mind racing for an escape. And then, she snapped. "You're lying!" she suddenly shrieked, pointing at me with wild desperation. I arched an eyebrow. "Oh? About what part exactly?" She grabbed at the ruined fake belly, shoving it toward the crowd as if it would somehow prove me wrong. This isn't what it looks like." Jason laughed darkly. "Oh? So what is it then, Vanessa? A fashion statement?" I was wearing it to protect my real bump," she blurted out, her voice pitching into hysteria. You don't understand. I lost weight because I was sick, and the doctor said it would make my pregnancy harder to see, and Enough!" Mom's voice cut through the noise like a blade, sharp, cold, final. And for the Vanessa actually shut up. Mom turned to me, her eyes dark with something I had never seen before. Not disappointment, not frustration, guilt, for enabling this, for ignoring every red flag, for always defending Vanessa, no matter what. But now that she had scammed their friends, humiliated them in public, and used a fake pregnancy to manipulate everyone in this room, even Mom couldn't ignore the truth anymore. She took a slow, shaky breath and turned back to Vanessa. "Tell the truth." It wasn't a request. It was a demand. Vanessa visibly swallowed, her lips pressing into a thin line. But she wasn't going to give up that easily, because she never did. "Fine," she said finally, lifting her chin, desperate to regain control. "You want the truth?" She let out a sharp, bitter laugh. "You all want to act so shocked? Like I'm the villain?" She spread her arms, gesturing to the guests. "I faked a pregnancy, sure. But why? Huh? Why do you think I had to?" She jabbed a finger toward Mom. "Because of her. Because of all of you. You only pay attention to me when I'm a victim, when I'm suffering, when I need saving." People shifted uncomfortably, because they knew she was twisting this into a sob story, and some of the softer, dumber ones, were starting to fall for it. Not happening. Not this time. I stepped forward, closing the space between us. "You had a choice," I said softly, my voice cutting through the noise. "You always had a choice, Vanessa. But instead of being a decent person, instead of actually doing something with your life, you decided it was easier to lie, to steal, to manipulate the people who actually gave a damn about you." Her mouth twitched, her mask cracking completely now. "You know what your real problem is?" I continued. "You can't survive without being the center of attention. You can't handle the idea of people not feeling sorry for you." She scoffed, but I wasn't done. I stepped even closer, lowering my voice so only she could hear. "And the saddest part? You're not even good at it anymore." Her face twisted. Pure rage. Because she knew. I had won. The guests began leaving one by one, shaking their heads, whispering to each other about how disgusting this all was. Jason ripped the baby gift registry list off the table and tore it in half. "I'm getting my money back," he muttered. And Mom? She just stood there, staring at Vanessa like she had never seen her before. Because maybe she actually hadn't. And Vanessa, she had nothing left. No excuses, no way out, no one left to manipulate, just the ruins of her biggest scam yet. I turned, grabbing my coat, and as I reached the door, I glanced back at her one last time. "Congratulations, Vanessa," I said. "You finally got what you wanted." She blinked. "What?" I smiled. Everyone's attention. Then I walked out, leaving her to deal with the wreckage, because this time she was cleaning up her own mess. I half expected Vanessa to disappear after the baby shower disaster, to vanish into whatever hole scammers crawled into when their lies finally caught up to them. Maybe she'd move to another town, change her number, reinvent herself the way she always did when things went south. But no, Vanessa didn't run, because she wasn't done yet. She had spent months carefully crafting this scam, weaving her lies so tightly around our family that, for a while, even Mom and Dad had believed her. And now, she was determined to salvage what was left, even if she had to burn the rest of us to the ground to do it. It started the very next day. My phone buzzed with a notification, and when I glanced at the screen, my stomach twisted. Vanessa, you ruined my life. Hope you're happy. I stared at the message for a moment, debating whether to respond. Then another text popped up. Vanessa, you always hated me. That's why you did this. Not because you care, not because you're some hero, just because you wanted to humiliate me. I let out a slow, tired sigh. There it was. The real Vanessa. Not the victim, not the loving sister she pretended to be, but the bitter, conniving narcissist who couldn't accept responsibility for anything. I typed out a response. Me. You humiliated yourself, Vanessa. I just held up the mirror. That should have been the end of it. But of course it wasn't. Because Vanessa wasn't done playing the victim. She couldn't stand the fact that I had won. So she did what she always did best. She started rewriting the story. Within hours, she was posting online, spinning the entire baby shower fiasco into a brand new sob story. She didn't deny the fake pregnancy. Oh no, that would have been too easy. Instead, she went for something worse. She turned me into the villain. Her first post was simple, vague, a baited hook, waiting for sympathy. Betrayal from family cuts the deepest. Hundreds of likes, dozens of comments, all pouring in with the kind of instant validation she thrived on. Stay strong, girl. Family can be the worst. You deserve better. Who hurt you? Name names. Let us drag them. And then, when the sympathy was high enough, she dropped the bomb. Imagine struggling with infertility for years, finally seeing a glimmer of hope, only for your own sister to rip it away from you in front of everyone. The moment I read it, I saw red. Infertility. She was going with infertility. She was twisting her scam into some tragic narrative where she had been the real victim all along, where I hadn't exposed a con artist, but had attacked a grieving woman who had faked a pregnancy out of trauma. And worst of all, people believed her. They flooded her comments with support, calling me cruel, heartless, evil. Some of her friends, the ones who didn't see the truth at the baby shower, started DMing me, spewing venom on her behalf. You're disgusting. I hope karma gets you. You don't deserve to call yourself her sister. My hands clenched around my phone. Because this was Vanessa at her worst. This was what she did when she had nothing left. She would rather drag me down with her than admit she was wrong. I could have ignored it, could have let it die down, but I had spent my entire life cleaning up Vanessa's messes. And this time, I wasn't going to let her rewrite my story. So I fought back. I waited a full day before making my move. Long enough for her lies to spread. Long enough for people to fully buy into her version of events. Then I did something Vanessa had never expected. I went public. Not just with the truth, with evidence. I made a post. A long one. And attached to it, every single receipt. The texts where Vanessa had bragged about getting free money from people. Screenshots of her fake baby bump purchased online. The GoFundMe transactions, thousands of dollars sent to her under false pretenses. The video of her walking into a spa instead of a doctor's office the day she was supposed to have an ultrasound. I laid it all out. Not with anger, not with petty insults, just cold, hard proof. And at the very bottom of the post I wrote, I didn't ruin Vanessa's life. She did that all on her own. And then, I walked away. I turned off my phone. I let the truth do what it always does. And when I checked back a few hours later, it was carnage. Vanessa's followers had turned on her. The people who had donated money were demanding refunds. Some even threatened legal action. Even her closest friends, the ones who had blindly defended her, were calling her out. What the hell, Vanessa? You lied about infertility? So you just scammed all of us? You're disgusting. Don't ever speak to me again. Her carefully crafted empire of manipulation was crumbling in real time. And Vanessa? She was losing it. She tried deleting comments, then blocking people, then posting a half-assed apology, where she claimed she had mental health struggles that made her do it. But nobody was buying it anymore. Because she had been caught. Publicly, completely, and there was no coming back from it. Mom called me the next day. I expected her to be furious, to scream at me for ruining Vanessa's life, but when I picked up, all I heard was a sigh, a long, exhausted sigh. "She's moving out," Mom said finally. I blinked. "What?" "She's leaving," she repeated. "She says she needs a fresh start. I don't think she'll be back anytime soon." Mom sounded tired of Vanessa's games. She wasn't defending her. She wasn't begging me to fix things. She was just done. And for once, so was I. Vanessa vanished after that. She deleted her social media, moved to another city, tried to reinvent herself, just like I knew she would. But the thing about burning every bridge? Eventually you run out of places to go. And me? I moved on. Not because she deserved forgiveness. Not because I cared what happened to her. I was free. Free from her manipulation. Free from her lies. Free from being the one who always had to clean up the mess. And that was the best revenge of all. Vanessa was gone, but her mess, that still lingered. Even though she had fled the city, deleted her social media, and tried to disappear, the consequences of her scam were still very real. People were still angry. The guests from the baby shower, the friends who had given her money, the strangers who had donated to her GoFundMe under false pretenses, they weren't just going to let her slither away without repercussions. And neither was I. Because Vanessa had spent her entire life escaping consequences. She had lied, stolen, manipulated, and every single time she had managed to weasel her way out of punishment. Not this time. This time, she was going to pay for what she did. The lawsuit came first. Jason, her so-called deadbeat baby daddy, was the first to take legal action. I didn't even blame him. Vanessa had dragged his name through the mud, made him look like a villain, all for her own personal gain. She had slandered him in front of his family, his friends, his workplace, made him seem like the kind of man who could abandon a pregnant woman without a second thought. And now he was done being silent. He sued for defamation, emotional distress, and fraud, claiming that her lies had cost him personal and professional opportunities. Then came the GoFundMe donors. Turns out lying about a pregnancy to scam money out of people, that's called fraud. Several people who had donated to her cause, thinking they were helping a struggling single mother, filed formal complaints against her. And since the GoFundMe had reached thousands of dollars, it wasn't just an embarrassing situation. It was a legal one that couldn't be ignored. And then came Mom and Dad. I had expected them to defend her, like they always had, to try and sweep everything under the rug, to blame me for exposing her instead of blaming Vanessa for the actual scam. They didn't. Because Vanessa hadn't just scammed friends and acquaintances. She had scammed them too. Mom had sent her thousands of dollars, covering fake doctor's visits and maternity expenses. Dad had put down a deposit on an apartment for her, thinking she needed a stable place to raise the baby. And when the truth came out, when they realized they had wasted money on a lie, that was the final straw. Mom was furious, not just at Vanessa, but at herself. I had never seen her look so defeated, so shaken, as when she told me, I really believed her. I defended her, and all along she was just using us. It was my mother who had ever truly admitted that Vanessa was broken beyond repair. She had stopped making excuses for her. Dad didn't say much, but the fact that he cut off Vanessa financially said everything. Because for Vanessa, that was the worst punishment of all. For weeks we heard nothing from her. It was like she had fallen off the face of the earth. She wasn't on social media. She wasn't answering calls. She was just gone. And honestly, that was fine by me, because I had spent my whole life trapped in Vanessa's orbit, being dragged into her chaos, forced to clean up her disasters. But now I had finally broken free. I moved on, for real this time. I focused on my job, reconnected with old friends, spent time with people who actually cared about me instead of just using me for their own gain. I wasn't looking over my shoulder, waiting for Vanessa's next scam, lie, or disaster to pull me back in. I was done with her, completely, and I thought that was the end of it. Until she came back. It happened 6 months later. I was at home, curled up on the couch, scrolling through my phone when I saw it. A new email. From Vanessa. My chest tightened, my finger hovering over the message. Part of me wanted to delete it without reading it, but another part of me, the part that wanted to see just how low she would sink, clicked it open. And as I read the first line, I laughed, because it was so predictable. I know you probably hate me right now, but I need your help. Help. Vanessa needed help. After ruining lives, stealing money, humiliating herself on a public scale, she still thought I would help her. I kept reading, my amusement slowly morphing into disbelief. She went on about how she was struggling, how she had lost everything, how she was scared and alone. Then came the real punchline. I know I messed up, but you're my sister, and family forgives each other, right? I sat back, shaking my head. Because Vanessa, she still didn't get it. She still thought she could wiggle her way back in, that after everything she had done, I would still be there to pick up the pieces. But I wasn't that person anymore. I wasn't her safety net. I wasn't going to save her. Not now. Not ever. So I replied. A short message. A final message. One that made it crystal clear that whatever connection we had once had, it was gone. Me. Vanessa, I don't hate you. I just don't care anymore. Good luck. And then, I blocked her. Because I wasn't going to waste one more second of my life on someone who had never cared about anyone but herself. Months passed. Then a year. And Vanessa? She stayed gone. She didn't try to contact me again. Didn't come crawling back to Mom and Dad. Didn't try to rebuild the life she had shattered. Maybe she was still out there, scheming, lying, trying to find new people to manipulate. Maybe she had finally hit rock bottom. Nevertheless, Vanessa was no longer my problem. My sister ruined my credit score with fraud. Now she's begging me to co-sign a loan. I never thought family could betray me like this. Not my own flesh and blood. Not her. For all our childhood fights, for all the slammed doors and screamed arguments over borrowed clothes and stolen hair products, I still believed in one unshakable truth. Family takes care of each other. It's what Mom always said when she forced us to apologize after some petty squabble. It's what Dad muttered every time he handed my sister, Rachel, money when she came up short on rent or blew her paycheck on impulse shopping. So, I believed it, even as we grew older and drifted apart. Even as Rachel started making excuses for why she couldn't pay me back after borrowing a couple $100s here and there. Even as she laughed off responsibility like it was some joke only she understood. I believed it, until the first letter arrived. I remember the moment with a sickening clarity. I had just gotten home from work, exhausted, kicking off my heels with a sigh when I saw the envelope sitting on my kitchen table. The return address was from some credit agency I didn't recognize. A mistake, I thought. Junk mail. But when I tore it open and saw the numbers, thousands of dollars in debt, a credit card I never opened, a due date long past, I felt the floor drop from under me. I scrambled for my laptop, pulling up my credit report, my hands shaking so badly I could barely type. And there it was, account after account, maxed out credit lines, loans I never touched, purchases I never made. My credit score, once pristine, had been gutted. Rachel's name wasn't on any of it, of course, just mine. But I knew. I knew. I called her that night, my voice shaking with a fury I had never felt before. She answered on the third ring, her voice airy, distracted, like she hadn't just destroyed my financial future. Hey, what's up? What's up? My voice came out shrill, breathless. Rachel, did you take out credit cards in my name? A pause. The hell are you talking about? She laughed, as if I had just accused her of something ridiculous, something absurd. I gripped the phone so hard my knuckles ached. Don't lie to me. I'm not lying. Why would I even do that? Because I just got a notice that I owe thousands of dollars on accounts I never opened. Another pause, longer this time. Then, her voice sharpened, defensive. Well, how is that my fault? Maybe you should check your security. Anyone could have stolen your info. The gaslighting was so blatant, so brazen, I almost doubted myself for a split second. Almost. But no, there was no one else. No random identity thief who conveniently opened accounts tied to places Rachel frequented, who took out loans that suspiciously coincided with the exact months she had been in a financial bind. I wasn't an idiot, and yet she denied it. Every single time. I tried everything. Demanding, begging, screaming. I told her she had to pay it back, that I couldn't afford to be saddled with debt that wasn't mine, that my credit score was ruined, that my dreams of buying a home, Getting a better loan rate for my car, even applying for a simple apartment lease were now a distant fantasy. Rachel? She acted like I was overreacting. Said I'd be fine, that credit scores bounce back, that I was being dramatic. When I got the second wave of collection calls, I tried again. She ignored me. When I sent her proof, statements, emails, screenshots, she blocked my number. And when I went to Mom and Dad, hoping they'd finally hold her accountable, they just sighed, shrugged, said, "Well, that's just Rachel." Like it was inevitable. Like it was my job to clean up the mess. The rage in me hardened into something colder, sharper. Fine. If no one else would do anything, I would. I reported the fraud. I filed police reports. I called every creditor, explaining that these weren't my charges. Some of them understood, some didn't. It didn't matter. The damage was done. It took me years to claw my way out of the wreckage she left behind. Years of rejection letters, of shame, of drowning in bills I never should have owed. I worked 2 jobs. I saved obsessively. I lived in a tiny studio apartment with a flickering light in the bathroom because I couldn't afford anything better. Rachel? She moved on, lived her life, posted Instagram pictures of expensive brunches and weekend getaways like nothing had happened. She never apologized, never even acknowledged it. Until now. The knock at my door came on a rainy Tuesday evening, sharp and insistent. At first I thought it was a delivery. I wasn't expecting company. But when I opened the door and saw her standing there, drenched from the downpour, eyes wide and desperate, I felt something inside me coil tight. "Hey," she said, voice small. "Can I come in?" I didn't move, didn't speak. I just stared at her, taking in the sight of the woman who had wrecked my finances and left me to suffer the consequences alone. She looked different. Still pretty, still effortlessly put together in that way only she could manage. But there was something else. A nervousness, a hesitance I had never seen before. "What do you want?" My voice was flat, empty. She swallowed hard, glancing away. I need a favor." A laugh, bitter, sharp, bubbled up before I could stop it. Of course. After all this time, after all the hell she put me through, she wasn't here to make things right. She was here because she needed something. I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. "A favor." She nodded, teeth worrying her bottom lip. "I need a cosigner for a loan." I almost slammed the door in her face right then and there. She must have seen the fury in my expression because she rushed on, words tumbling over each other. "I know what you're thinking, but I swear it's different this time. I need help. I can't get approved on my own, and you're the only one I can ask." I scoffed. "Really? I'm the only one? What about Mom and Dad?" They can't. Or won't." My jaw clenched so hard it ached. I should have shut her down immediately. I wanted to. But something dark and deeply satisfying bloomed in my chest at the sight of her standing there, pleading. After all these years of her acting like my suffering wasn't her problem, now she was the one desperate. She needed me. The irony was delicious. I tilted my head, studying her. "So, let me get this straight," I said slowly. "You stole my identity, trashed my credit, ignored me while I struggled to fix the damage you caused, and now you're asking me to trust you with my financial future again?" Her face crumpled. "It's not like that. I've changed, I swear. Please, I just need this one thing." The question burned in my throat. What happens if I say no? And I was tempted to find out. The silence between us stretched long and taut, the kind that made the air feel heavier, pressing against my chest like an invisible weight. Rachel stood in my doorway, damp from the rain, her arms folded tightly across her chest, like she was trying to make herself smaller. That was new. She had never been the type to shrink in front of me, never been the type to need anything from me, at least not in a way that left her vulnerable. I wasn't used to seeing her like this, and I wasn't sure I cared. "You need this loan," I repeated, savoring the way her face twitched when I said it aloud. "And you need me to co-sign it." She nodded quickly, her damp hair clinging to her cheek as she sniffed. Yeah, I do." There was a time when I would have given in just from the sheer guilt of watching her struggle, a time when her desperation would have pried open the part of me that still wanted to believe we were sisters first, and everything else second. That time was long gone. I stepped back, folding my arms, leaning against the doorframe as I studied her. Why should I? Rachel's mouth opened and closed, the first flicker of panic lighting behind her eyes. She hadn't expected that. She'd come here thinking I would cave, that I would fold under the weight of family obligation like I always had. She didn't know me anymore. Because I have no one else to ask, she admitted finally, her voice brittle like she hated saying the words aloud. I gave a dry, humorless laugh. Wow, that's a hell of a reason. Let me get this straight. You torched my finances, refused to take responsibility for it, ignored me for years while I suffered because of your choices, and now you want me to help you? She flinched. Actually flinched. It was the first real reaction I'd gotten out of her that wasn't just bullshit avoidance. That's not fair, she whispered. Oh, you want to talk about fair? I said, my voice rising. You think it was fair when I had to sit across from a loan officer and get denied for a car because my credit was trashed? You think it was fair when I had to work 2 jobs just to get my finances back to some kind of normal? You think it was fair that I had to fight tooth and nail to clear my name while you went on with your life like nothing happened? Rachel dropped her gaze, her lips pressed into a thin line. I saw her hands tighten into fists, her nails digging into her palms. She hated being called out, hated being confronted with the truth. And yet she was still standing here, still asking me to put myself on the line for her again. A slow, bitter smirk curled on my lips. No, you don't get to play the victim now, not when you made this mess. Her shoulders tensed. Don't lie. My voice was quiet, but it cut through the tension like a knife. I know it was you. You know it was you. We are not playing this game again. She inhaled sharply, nostrils flaring, and for a moment I saw the old Rachel, the defiant one, the one who would dig her heels in and refuse to admit fault no matter how deep in the hole she was. But something was different this time. The fight drained out of her in a slow, miserable exhale, and when she looked at me again, I saw something that almost looked like guilt. Almost. I was young, she murmured, like that was some kind of excuse. I was struggling. I didn't think it would ruin you. I thought I'd fix it before you found out. I blinked at her, stunned into silence for a second before a sharp, humorless laugh burst from my throat. Fix it? I repeated, shaking my head. You knew you weren't going to fix anything. You knew what you were doing. And when you got caught, you walked away like it was my problem. Rachel's jaw tightened. I know. I tilted my head. Do you? She sucked in a shaky breath. I do, and I swear, I've changed. I wouldn't be here if I didn't have to be. There it was again, that little sliver of honesty she couldn't quite hide. She wasn't here to make amends. She wasn't here to fix anything. She was here because she had no other choice. And I realized how good that felt. Rachel had always had choices. She had always had someone to catch her when she fell. Mom, Dad, me. There had always been someone to smooth over her mistakes, to pick up the shattered pieces and tell her everything would be okay. But this time, there was no one left. No one except me. And I had no interest in playing savior anymore. I sighed, tilting my head, watching her closely. Tell me something, Rachel. Why do you need this loan so badly? Her lips parted, then shut. A flicker of something uneasy passed over her face. There it was, the part she wasn't telling me. I just do, she muttered. I scoffed. Yeah, see? That's not good enough. You want me to risk my finances for you again, but you won't even tell me why? That's not how this works. Her hands balled into fists again. I could see her trying to hold back the frustration, trying to keep herself from snapping at me like she always used to when things didn't go her way. I got into some trouble, she admitted finally, the words strained, reluctant. I raised a brow. Trouble. She hesitated. Then, I owe money. That didn't surprise me. What kind of money? Her throat bobbed as she swallowed hard. Personal loans, credit cards, some other things. I narrowed my eyes. Other things? I should have walked away right then and there. I should have slammed the door and let her deal with the consequences of her own choices, the way she forced me to do all those years ago. But a sick, petty part of me wanted to drag this out just a little longer, wanted to watch her squirm. How much? Her face darkened. A lot. I crossed my arms. Try a number. She hesitated again, and that was my answer right there. Whatever the number was, it wasn't small. I exhaled slowly, shaking my head. You never learn, do you? Rachel flinched like I had struck her. That's not fair. I barked out a laugh. No, because it looks a hell of a lot like you're in the exact same situation you were in years ago. The only difference is, this time you can't use my credit to get out of it. She opened her mouth, then shut it again, like she knew there was nothing she could say to argue. Good. I stared at her for a long moment, letting the weight of my silence settle between us. Then, finally, I spoke. No. Rachel blinked. What? No, I repeated, firmer this time, tasting the word like it was something sweet. I'm not signing shit for you. You made this mess. You figure it out. The color drained from her face. You can't just... I can, I said, cutting her off. And I am. She shook her head rapidly, her breath coming in short, frantic bursts. But I don't have anyone else. That's not my problem, I said coldly. I'm not making it my problem. Her lips trembled. I saw real panic in her eyes. Real fear. And I didn't care. I stepped back, gripping the edge of the door. Good luck, Rachel. Then, without another word, I shut the door in her face. I expected Rachel to knock again, pound on the door, scream at me through the wood, demand that I reconsider. I even half expected her to crumple against it, sobbing, begging, trying to claw her way back into my good graces. But nothing came. Silence. For a few long moments I stood there, my hand still resting on the doorknob, my heart hammering in my chest as I listened to the muffled sounds of the rain outside. I didn't move until I heard her footsteps retreat, slow and uncertain at first, then faster, more frantic, until they disappeared entirely. And just like that, she was gone. I exhaled, slow and deep, feeling something in my chest loosen, something I hadn't even realized I had been carrying for years. I should have felt relief. Instead, all I felt was exhausted. Rachel had always been a storm. She would roll in without warning, turn everything upside down, and then disappear just as quickly, leaving nothing but wreckage in her wake. I had spent my entire life running after her, trying to clean up the damage, trying to fix things that weren't my responsibility to fix. But not this time. This time, I let the storm pass. I didn't hear from Rachel for 3 weeks. Not a single call, not a single text. I told myself it didn't bother me. I was done with her. Done with the cycle of betrayal and guilt. Done with the way she sucked me dry and then acted like I was the one being unreasonable when I finally had enough. I had spent too many years waiting for an apology that was never going to come, hoping for change that was never going to happen. Letting her go should have been easy. So why did I keep checking my phone expecting her name to pop up? Why did I keep wondering if she was okay? It wasn't love. It wasn't forgiveness. It was habit. That was the hardest part to break. The instinct to worry, to care, to believe that maybe this time things would be different. But they never were. And then, one day, she called. I was in the middle of folding laundry when my phone buzzed on the counter. At first, I didn't think much of it. I assumed it was a spam call or a work email. But then I saw the name, Rachel. My stomach tightened. For a long moment I just stared at the screen, watching it ring. I should have ignored it. I should have let it go to voicemail and left it there. Unread, unheard, forgotten. But some part of me needed to know. Needed to hear her voice one last time. I answered. What? I said flatly. There was a pause, then a shaky exhale. I get it now. I frowned. Get what? Rachel let out a humorless laugh. Why you hate me? I blinked, caught off guard. I hadn't expected that. I don't hate you. You should. Silence. Then softer. I messed up, didn't I? I swallowed hard. Yeah. Another silence, but this one felt different, heavier. I lost everything, she admitted. I couldn't get the loan. I tried every bank, every credit union, every payday lender. They all turned me down. Good, I thought, but I didn't say it. She exhaled, long and slow. I had to sell my car. Couldn't keep up with the payments. Got kicked out of my apartment last week. I've been couch surfing since. I closed my eyes, inhaling through my nose. I should have felt vindicated. I should have felt satisfied. She was finally suffering the consequences of her own actions. Finally. The same way I had. The same way she had forced me to. And yet there was no satisfaction. Just exhaustion. She had done this to herself. She had made these choices. I knew that. And still, hearing her like this, hearing the sheer emptiness in her voice, it didn't feel like victory. It just felt sad. "I don't know what to do," she whispered. "I don't have anywhere left to go." She didn't say it, but I heard the unspoken plea in her voice. The same plea she had always used. "Help me. Save me. Fix this for me." I closed my eyes, and I didn't feel guilty when I said, "That's not my problem." Rachel inhaled sharply, like I had struck her. But I didn't let her finish. "I hope you figure it out," I said, my voice steady, calm. "But you need to do it without me." Then, before she could say another word, I hung up. And this time, I didn't wait for her to call back. Rachel never reached out again. I don't know where she went after that, what happened to her, or if she ever got her life together. I don't know if she finally learned from her mistakes. And honestly, I don't care. She wasn't my problem anymore.